the other thing that was I became very uh, attached to the local nationals and the little children, the orphans and so forth. And uh, when we were at my first assignment down in the Delta at Soc Trang, we adopted a orphanage, a little a Catholic orphanage. And part of the whole thing was to get the GIs to, really relate to who it is that they're there, to be assisting and so forth. And anyway, we had a wonderful little Catholic orphanage, and they brought a group of children in the back of a big deuce and a half, like, on the back of a truck, and they had the little nuns with them and so forth. And they sang and danced, and the guys and they had asked their families from home to send like little clothes and little treats and toys and stuff, and the kids were just so thrilled. And I noticed this one little girl, because she was holding this balloon between her forearm and her waist, and then I looked, she had no hands. And I asked the nun, what was happening? She said, oh, very bad, the VC come through the village and asking for rice from the family. They had none to give them, so they take the baby and they cut her hands off. So then we have the little baby, and I have her picture. I've had it in my house for 50 years now. I look at her every day, and one of my missions is to hope to see if I can find out what happened to her. But it's been very difficult, because we were concerned that maybe I was hoping so much she may have been taken out on the baby lifts that we had. And Soc Trang, what they told me is typically they didn't get children that far from there. But then I've since recently found out that it's a good possibility that she might have had a chance. But that was in late 68. And she was, to me, about 18 months to 2 years old. So we're talking, close to 50 now. But chances are, if there's a Vietnamese woman that's about 50 that has no hands, it's a possibility, that might be my baby. And, but, things like that as a young girl, that lived a very, nurtured, ordinary life, and not ever having been around, violence and things like that. And it was just really, it was singly the most, that was going to Vietnam was the most life-changing event I've ever encountered. And in retrospect, though, had I not gone, I wouldn't have the two wonderful children I have. I wouldn't have had the experiences. I ended up overseas with the husband of my children, the father of my children, and we ended up, back in Asia, and, so I had a very interesting experience. And then after 45 years again, meeting this amazing, wonderful hero that talked about his children and his wife and was very honorable. His men just respected him so much, and to have the honor of meeting him again and knowing him other than Major Moore. So it was like a gift, a huge gift that I never would have expected. And so I'm just a young little bride of 72 with 40. It's just kind of funny, but yeah, we have to learn about each other in a different way now. It was a back-to-back. I went home and I had orders to go to Korea, and then I heard that the lady running Korea was pretty strict and safe, and we didn't just decide to get on a helicopter and go somewhere and all that. And then the more I was getting ready to go home, and and then thinking about my friends I lost that ultimately ended up with their names on the wall and stuff, I just decided I don't want to go to Korea. I want to go back to Vietnam. And so I came home and went to Washington, D.C., and got my orders changed. And so I ended up back in country. But the ladies, because I had taken chances, like going on my 22nd birthday, sneaking out and seeing this Republic of Vietnam military insertion and all these other things, going into villages with the local nationals, it was dangerous. And anyway, they told me that they were delighted to have me back in country, but they were sending me to a truck unit. We did not have an elevator. So I ended up for 9 months up in Quy Nhon,